Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to put a power station together with commonly available components. Now you can put something like this together way cheaper than you can buy, a comparable, something like a Jackery. Well, we've got a 250 watt Trina solar panel. This is a used panel, and these 250 watt panels are a lot of used panels you can pick up really cheap. This one you should be able to get for under $30. A lot of cases for free if someone's doing an upgrade or pulling panels off of their roof. A lot of times people are selling their house and the new owner doesn't want the solar system, so they're more than glad to just get rid of them. This is the only new item that I have in this system right now. This is a 100 amp hour 12 volt LiFePO₄ battery. This is a pretty decent battery here. These are the miniature batteries. They call them minis. They're smaller than the regular size 100 amp hour batteries, and it fits in here perfectly. You could probably even rearrange this to fit two of them in here. Then we've got a Samlex SSW 2000. It's a true sine wave 2000 watt 12 volt inverter, but you can use pretty much any inverter you want in here. This is a Xantrex C40 charge controller. It's a PWM charge controller. It's what I had in stock here. This charge controller was made for lead acid batteries, but it's got variable resistors in here to set all the parameters, so it can be set up to run a lithium battery, and we'll go through all that later on. But I just wanted to show you what you can do. You can put this in a box. You can put it in a case like this to make it portable. This solar panel didn't have any MC4 connectors on it, so I put this on here just to demo this. You would want to put a circuit breaker in between here too, in a production system. Spider webs flying around here. So let me just do a quick demo. I'll bring you over here. Got a couple meters set up. Hopefully with the sun glare we can see them. Let me see here. So I'm going to plug in this power saw. And we'll just do a quick test here. This runs about 90 amps. So I don't know if we can see that. Has no problem starting the saw up. Alright guys, so these are the only parts that you need for this power bank. We're going to be building a 12 volt power bank. So we've got a 12 volt battery. This is a 100 amp hour 12 volt LiFePO₄ battery. So then we're going to use a 12 volt inverter. This is a 2000 watt 12 volt inverter. This is a true sine wave inverter. You can get a lot of different inverters. There's modified sine wave inverters. Those are a lot cheaper than a sine wave inverter, but a sine wave inverter is what you're going to want if you want to run any type of electronics. A sine wave inverter gives you pretty much the same waveform as what your wall outlet is going to give you. So this will give you 110 volts. There's inverters that'll give you 220 volts also. But we're gonna do a 110 volt 2000 watt inverter. Then we need a way to charge the battery. I'm using a solar charge controller because I want to be able to charge the battery with a solar panel. If you don't want to do a solar panel, you can get a charger that'll do LiFePO₄ batteries that you can just plug into your 110 volt outlet, and it'll charge the system, and you'd be ready for a power outage. The next item we need are the cables. You're going to need some hefty cables for between the battery and the inverter. These cables for the 2000 watt inverter and this battery, the cables should be able to carry 200 amps. Then we've got the cables to go from the charge controller to the battery to charge the battery from the solar panels. And then we have the cables that go to the solar panels from the charge controller to the solar panels. And you're going to need a fuse. This is an AGM fuse. This is 175 amp. Ideally it should be a 200 amp, but this is again what I have here. So you're going to need some kind of a fuse holder. Me being the DIY guy, I made my own fuse holder. This is some automotive plastic that I cut out to hold the fuse. You want to have some kind of a holder, especially in this situation, because I'm going to connect one end of the fuse right to the battery, and you don't want to do that with just the fuse. You need some kind of strain relief so it doesn't put a lot of strain on the fuse. It might break the fuse otherwise. So let's go ahead and start the, oh, one more thing too. This is a pre-charge resistor, and what that does, it pre-charges the capacitors inside the inverter. When you first connect the power to the inverter, if you don't have a pre-charge resistor, you're going to get a big spark, and that'll over time it'll damage the posts on either the battery or your inverter, and it's not real good for the inverter or the battery. So what you do is you connect the cables up, and then before you make the last connection, you just take this pre-charge resistor, touch it on the terminal, and that'll charge up the capacitors at a low current. Once, you know, you only have to do that for a few seconds. Once the capacitors are charged up, then you can hook your cable up without having to worry about that big spark. So let's go ahead and start assembling this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the fuse, let's see, we're going to go this way around. I'm going to connect up the fuse. And you don't even need a lot of tools. I've got a crescent wrench, a pair of needle nose, wire cutters, and a screwdriver. So pretty much anybody can put one of these together. Tighten that down. Then, all right, put that to the side. Let's work on the charge controller here. So if you're just using a 110 volt charger, it'll be a lot easier, because that is just going to hook up to here and here, the positive and negative terminals. With this, we've got a couple extra connections. This is going to be your battery positive, double, triple check everything to make sure you don't reverse polarity. Everything needs to be the proper polarity. This is going to be the battery negative. Now we're going to do the solar positive. And the solar negative. And let's hook up. All right. So let's go on to the inverter here. We're going to do the inverter negative. To the battery negative. Now, the battery negative, we're going to put two terminals on there. We're going to put the inverter and we're going to put the negative from the charge controller on the same terminal. Then we're going to take the battery positive, if we can get it the right way around here. And the charge controller positive. Same thing, we've got both cables on the same terminal here. And then here's where the pre-charge resistor comes in. We want to take this, hold it on here, put it on there for a few seconds. That'll charge up the capacitors, and then you don't have any spark there. If we don't do that, let me see if I'll turn this on, discharge the capacitors, and then I'll show you what happens here. Did you see the spark? See that? That's what happens, and then it'll mess up your terminals or the nut, whatever you're touching. So that goes on there. Now already at this point, we can already be making power here. If we, let me get something to plug in there. You can see how easy this all is. Turn the inverter on. So we're already set for a power outage at this point. So if you wanted to put something together real quick, all you have to do is wire it up. You can plug, depending on what inverter you use, you can plug your refrigerator in, freezer, coffee machine, you know, anything that, I don't know, you know, you don't want to be hooking a space heater or something like that up to it. And then this is all set to go for the solar panel. We just have to plug the solar panel in, and we have to adjust the pots on here. We've got a bulk and a float charge setting on here. We don't want the float charge to be higher than the bulk setting in this situation. So you can either turn the float charge all the way off counterclockwise, which is what I'm going to set it to, and then you can set the bulk charge to whatever the battery you have recommends for the charge voltage. This battery, they recommend a 14.4 volt charge voltage. So what you have to do, the bulk setting has to be set for 14.4 volts, and that's just this potentiometer setting right here. You can put a let me get something here. You can put a voltmeter from, there's a pad right here, and this is all in the instructions for this. If you get one of these C40s, there's a pad right there next to the variable resistor. Put the positive on there, negative on the on one of the negative terminals. So we've got, I don't think I can set this without the solar panel on there. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we can set it. So the voltage is going to be what you have to do, you have to take 13 volts plus whatever the voltage is on the meter from here to here. So we've got 1.54, we want to go 1.6. Oh, wait a minute, it's 14.4, so we want to go 1.4 volts. There we go. So 13 plus 1.4 gives us the 14.4 volts that we need to charge the battery. Simple as that. You can also, this isn't the most efficient way to charge a battery from the solar panel. You can get an MPPT charge controller that has a lot better efficiency than a pulse width modulated charge controller. But you know, I guess I've got enough solar panels. If you've got enough wattage in solar panels, I wouldn't worry about the MPPT. You can probably pick these C40s up pretty cheap. They've got a C30, I think, a 30 or a 35, a C40. Well, here, let me double check that. Actually, is it on here? Yep. So this is the front cover for this thing. They've got C35s that'll do 12 and 24 volts, 35 amps. C40. I like this one because this will do 12, 24, 48. Plus, I believe the input voltage is up to 100 volts, so you can series some solar panels to put into this thing. And then the C60 is a 60 amp controller that'll output 12 and 24 volts. But I think the C40 is the only one that'll go up, pretty sure it's to 100 volts. 125 volts. So the C35 you can do 55 volts max input, C40 125 volts DC max in, and the C60 is 55 max in. So that's why I like these C40s. Well, they're pretty versatile, and like I say, if you have enough solar panels, and solar panels are cheap now, you just series up some solar panels and you don't have to worry. I don't worry about the MPPT except for my bigger systems. So that's about it for that. And then if you want to put it into some kind of an enclosure, you can figure something out, some kind of a box, whatever. I'm going to put everything into this case here. I'll put that all together, and then we'll take a look at it outside later on. Alright guys, well that about does it for this one. So if you put this together, you've built yourself a 1.3 kilowatt hour solar generator that you can repair if something breaks. And it's a good educational experience. So go ahead, do it guys, do it. Save some money, and I would venture to say this way is more robust anyways. That's about it. So if you like this kind of content, I sure would appreciate a like and a subscribe. Thanks guys, sure do appreciate you. Have a good one.